I find it interesting that she keeps going after President Trump, the greatest president in American history. And if they could maintain their composure.
What does the most powerful law enforcement officer in America do? And the president she serves is accused of raping a 13-year-old girl.
I want to know, were there any underage girls at that party?
There is no evidence that Donald Trump has committed a crime. Everyone knows that.
I'm going to tell you. And then you can decide. Bondi, Trump, Epstein, what do they all have in common? 3 names in the files, that's...
An attorney general who has prioritized obstruction over justice, corruption over the law, fealty to the president over loyalty to the Constitution.
I met Donald Trump at some parties I attended.
Welcome to the first episode in the Epstein Files cover-up investigative series. This episode answers the question, who is Pam Bondi and who does she serve?
What if I told you that you could buy total, complete legal immunity from a multi-million-dollar fraud investigation for basically the price of a mid-sized sedan?
Well, it sounds completely absurd when you put it like that.
How did Pam Bondi, the woman who is supposed to be the top law enforcement officer in the United States, the one who now has the power to prosecute, to investigate, and to bury evidence, was paid by the man whose files she controls? This is not a conspiracy theory. This is her own financial disclosure. These are court records. This is documented. And right now, today, Pam Bondi sits behind the desk of the United States Department of Justice with the Epstein files in her hands and the power to decide who gets justice and who never does. This is episode 1 of the investigative series, Trump, Bondi, Epstein.
And she does. Bondi, Trump, Epstein, what do they all have in common?
Is this massive cover-up?
It's a simple question. Did the Attorney General of Florida back off an investigation of Donald Trump and his now defunct real estate school in exchange for a $25,000 political donation?
Mr. Trump has also been hitting Clinton on the Clinton Foundation, saying it's pay to play. Yet, front page story in the New York Times today, and a lot of focus on this contribution that his foundation made to Pam Bondi, the Attorney General of Florida. Now, the timeline is they spoke on the phone. An investigation was announced into Trump University. Trump Foundation sends a $25,000 check. The investigation is called off. If that were Mrs. Clinton, wouldn't you be calling that pay to play?
Oh, I would ask her what happened. And in the case of Mr. Trump and Attorney General Bondi, they both said that they'd never discussed the Trump University lawsuit. He may have talked about anything. He has a residence in Florida, and
she asked for a contribution
to her for her reelection. He has supported many, many Republican candidates.
But before we get to the desk she sits behind today, you need to know who she was before she got there. Pam Bondi is an American attorney, politician, and media personality, widely recognized for her tenure as Florida's 37th Attorney General from 2011 to 2019. A Republican with a strong national profile, has built a career centered on legal advocacy, public service, and conservative policymaking. Pamela Jobe was born on November 17, 1965, in Tampa, Florida. Raised in a politically active and community-oriented household, she developed an early interest in law and public service. She earned her undergraduate degree in criminal justice from the University of Florida, where she was involved in campus activities. Later attended Stetson University College of Law, one of Florida's premier law schools, where she earned her Juris Doctor. Began her career as a prosecutor in the Hillsborough County State Attorney's Office, working on cases involving domestic violence, public corruption, and fraud. She gained a reputation for being tough yet compassionate, particularly in her approach to handling cases involving vulnerable populations. Her courtroom experience and deep understanding of Florida's legal system laid the groundwork for her eventual entry into politics. Pam was elected as Florida's Attorney General in 2010, succeeding Bill McCollum. She served 2 terms in office, becoming the first woman to hold the position in the state's history. During her tenure, she focused on issues such as combating human trafficking, addressing the opioid crisis, and strengthening consumer protection laws. Bondi's prominence extended beyond Florida. She became a national figure within the Republican Party, speaking at events such as the Republican National Convention in 2016. Her close relationship with then-President Donald Trump further elevated her profile. In 2019, joined Trump's impeachment defense team, bringing her legal expertise to the national stage.
Who is Pam Bondi? Because the woman who made a career out of promising to fight for victims has a record, and the record tells a different story than the promises did. Let us take a look at her promise in her own words in this video clip.
Florida ranks 3rd nationally in calls for help for human trafficking, where young women and children are enslaved and abused. I knew we needed all hands on deck. Businesses and hospitals to spot it, our great law enforcement to stop it, and tougher penalties to punish it. We're taking on Medicaid fraud, pill mills, gangs, and more, and I'll fight to put human trafficking monsters where they belong, behind bars.
Pam Bondi, our Attorney General.
She made that promise in her own campaign ad in the state where she was already the top law enforcement officer. The state she said ranked 3rd in the nation for human trafficking calls. She made that promise to the people of Florida. She made it on camera. She paid to run it on television.
Trafficking survivors are not the only ones she made promises to.
Live on Fox Local and on YouTube. The group March for Our Lives has launched a new campaign against Attorney General Pam Bondi. March for Our Lives is the student-led organization that was formed in the aftermath of the 2018 shooting at Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School in Parkland, Florida. And this group has made a number of pushes over the years for gun safety, certain restrictions as well. But now they are, as I said, launching this movement, this effort against the U.S. Attorney General, claiming that Bondi exploited the 2018 Parkland shooting to advance her political career, and saying that they believe she betrayed every promise she made to survivors and to grieving families.
Now, Pam Bondi isn't just another politician who disappoints us. She's someone who has looked me personally in the eyes after the worst day of my life and made promises she obviously never intended to keep. I remember meeting with her a week after the shooting. I met with her with a bunch of other survivors, pleading with her to do something. And behind those closed doors, she was dismissive and cold, touting a rehearsed PR school safety message that didn't address the real problem, which is, of course, the gun. But the moments the cameras were rolling, she promised action. She vowed to find common ground and support policies that would prevent future tragedies. And for a brief moment, she actually delivered. She used our pain to build her credibility as someone who could bridge divides on gun safety. But we realize now that it was all political theater.
Look, I don't just speak to this issue as a member of Congress, but I speak to this issue as someone who's been working to end gun violence since I was 15 years old. Now we have someone like Pam Bondi in a position where she blatantly lied to survivors in the state of Florida. She blatantly lied to her constituents in the state of Florida, used the tears and the pain of survivors and victims and families to make it seem like she was someone who you could find common ground with. And then when she's put in a position where she has the most political power that she's ever had in her entire life, she completely betrays these families, these constituents, and betrays our entire country.
An investigative team went and looked at every single human trafficking case Pam Bondi's office actually prosecuted from the time she first took office in 2010 through her re-election campaign. Here is what they found. Her statewide prosecutors had closed 6 cases. 6 in the state that ranked 3rd in the nation for human trafficking complaints. Those 6 cases involved 12 defendants total. But here's where it gets worse. Of those 12 defendants, Only 5 were actually charged under the human trafficking statute. The other 7 were charged with racketeering. Bondi's office counted the racketeering charges as human trafficking cases. And when it came to sentencing, 10 of the 12 defendants received 5 years or less. She spent nearly $500,000, $461,244, on radio ads, billboards, and traveling around the state chairing her statewide council on human trafficking. That is the ratio. Nearly $500,000 on the promise. 6 cases on the record. 5 actual human trafficking charges. 10 defendants who were back on the street inside 5 years. Florida ranked 3rd in the nation, and she had 6 cases to show for it. In 2014, Pam Bondi worked with the Florida legislature to establish the statewide Council on Human Trafficking.
According to the National Human Trafficking Resource Center, Florida is ranked 3rd in the nation for the number of calls received by the center's human trafficking hotline. Since she took office, combating human trafficking has been one of Bondi's main priorities. She says already many stakeholders have become innovative and creative in order to stop this problem, calling it, quote, an all-hands-on-deck approach.
We've partnered with the truckers, and they are our eyes and ears. And I don't know if you saw, there was a national article. They're doing that in other states as well now, too, which is great. Because where do you take a little girl to traffic her? A truck stop. We've met with the emergency room physicians. They came to me and said, we want to be trained on what to look for regarding human trafficking. So we're thrilled to work with them.
But she says there's still more work to be done. And Monday, she convened a 15-member statewide council made up of prosecutors, law enforcement, lawmakers, nonprofit groups, and different state agency officials.
She chaired it. She publicized it. She took photographs at it. She traveled the state on behalf of it. There was just one problem. The council did not have a single survivor of human trafficking on it. Not one. And when Pam Bondi's tenure as Florida Attorney General ended in 2019, so did the council. It did not outlast her. It was not handed off. It was not sustained by the office she built it in. It simply ended when she walked out the door. That tells you everything you need to know about what the council actually was.
After making it a campaign promise and spending hundreds of thousands of tax dollars, there are still questions about whether Attorney General Pam Bondi is doing enough.
Yeah, I-Team investigator Jared Holbrook spent months going through her cases.
It's not about the messenger.
Anytime you can talk about it in front of a camera, talk about it.
It's not about getting your picture on a billboard.
These billboards are going to be all over the state of Florida.
It's not about getting your picture in the paper. It's about letting people know that when they want to have sex with a child, that's somebody's child.
When it comes to human trafficking, Pasco County Judge Lynn Tepper is frustrated at the results Attorney General Pam Bondi is actually getting versus the image she's creating. Florida ranks 3rd in the country for the most human trafficking complaints to the national hotline. It's an issue that was part of Bondi's 2014 re-election campaign.
We have to be proactive and not just reactive.
We looked at every human trafficking case Bondi's team has prosecuted since she first took office in 2010. Bondi's statewide prosecutors have closed 6 cases involving 12 defendants. Only 5 were actually charged with human trafficking. The others were charged with racketeering, but Bondi's team still counts them as human trafficking cases.
I don't understand how there couldn't possibly be hundreds of prosecutions a year on a statewide basis.
And when it comes to sentencing, 10 of the 12 defendants got 5 years or less.
I had no idea that so little was being done.
With almost 6 years in office, Bondi has only charged 1 Hillsborough County man, and that was just a few months ago.
That's astounding to me. I can't imagine. It's astounding. Again, I know survivors, a number of survivors. They all were trafficked in the Tampa Bay area.
Bondi has spent nearly $500,000 on radio ads, billboards, and traveling around the state chairing the statewide Council on Human Trafficking. We tried to sit down with Bondi and discuss her numbers. Her office ignored our repeated requests for an interview, so we caught up with her at a public event.
What would you say if I told you that I talked to several survivors, advocates, even a judge in the county that you're standing in today, and they say your numbers aren't satisfactory and they need to be more?
Well, they need to talk to the state attorney, they need to talk to the U.S. attorney, and my office. We all have the same jurisdiction regarding human trafficking cases.
But you're in charge of your office, obviously, so
Right.
what about your office?
Right. Well, we prosecute the U.S. attorney and the state attorney. Nick Cox, my statewide prosecutor, we are doing everything we can to combat human trafficking.
Even though she said they were doing everything they could, her own numbers said otherwise.
Frankly, it's not about whether the Attorney General says she cares. It's not about whether the Attorney General says, these are bad people, we don't tolerate this. Show me.
Listen to the survivors, listen to the advocates, listen to the ones who have been out there on the ground. I'm very frustrated. I'm very frustrated.
Kathy Arnold is a human trafficking survivor and advocate.
Her own parents trafficked her from the time she was 5 years old through the time she turned 18. She was sold by the people who were supposed to protect her.
Do you feel the Attorney General's office is prosecuting enough cases?
No, I don't. No, I don't. Not from what she says.
Kathy and Judge Tepper both felt like Bondi was not prosecuting enough cases. Kathy raised her concerns with Bondi about why no survivors could be on the Human Trafficking Council.
Kathy Arnold tried repeatedly to raise that concern directly with Pam Bondi. She asked to be heard.
Have you tried reaching out to her about your concerns?
Yes, repeatedly.
It was not infrastructure. It was not a commitment. It was a backdrop, a photo opportunity, a line in a campaign ad, a way to appear to be fighting for victims, while the powerful men who created them remained untouched. The council with no survivors was not an oversight. When you look at the full record, 6 cases, 5 charges, 10 defendants, who were back on the street inside 5 years, 8 years of Epstein operating without a probe, a pattern emerges. And the pattern is this: the council, the billboards, the ads, the traveling, the cheering. That was the performance of protection.
Message to instant nightmare.
We're going to provide instant action to save the children.
Young girls and women lured into sex trafficking, sometimes through social media. Now Florida is fighting back.
This has got to stop.
Today, Florida Attorney General Pam Bondi announced a new statewide campaign.
These billboards are going to be all over the state of Florida. Bus shelter posters, mall displays.
It's not just the billboards. The state's investing in training for law enforcement, the trucking industry, convenience stores, and more to help identify victims. Girls that Sheriff Grady Judd says are all too often controlled and sold. The billboard campaign will be front and center on highways across Florida. In Tampa, I'm Carson Chambers, ABC Action News.
The reality was something else. Remember that deflection, the redirect, the pivot to someone else's responsibility. The refusal to answer what was actually asked. We are going to see that pattern again.
We now have concrete evidence of disgusting criminality revealed in the Epstein files. So I really have just one question for you. How many of Epstein's co-conspirators have you indicted? How many perpetrators are you even investigating?
First, you showed it. I find it.
How many have you indicted?
Excuse me. I'm going to answer the question.
Answer my question.
No, I'm going to answer the question the way I want to answer the question.
No,
Your
you're going to answer
theatrics
the
are
question
ridiculous.
the way I asked it.
Chairman Jordan, I'm not going to get in the gutter with these people, but I'm going to answer the question.
How many have you indicted?
Again, the time belongs to
Reclaiming my time.
The time belongs.
I think it's very interesting.
Reclaiming my time.
I think it's very interesting.
And you can
that
reclaim
he
your
talks
time.
about they indicted. The president said they indicted him twice.
Mr. Chairman, please stop the clock and restore his time.
Okay, here we go with these
Committee will get in order.
theatrics.
The time belongs to the gentleman from New York. We will give you a few more seconds. We will do that. But when you ask a question, The witness gets to answer. You may not like the answer, but she gets to answer.
The question was, how many of Epstein's...
They don't like the answer, Chairman.
My time.
Because it's honest. So he asked a 4-minute question.
Restore 45 seconds to Mr. Nadler, please, Mr. Chairman.
Answer.
You can let her filibuster all day long, but not on our watch. Not on our time. No way. And I told you about that, Attorney General, before you started.
You don't tell me.
Yeah, I did tell you because we saw what you did in the Senate.
You're a lawyer, not even a lawyer.
Committee will be in order.
Time, and I should get back at least 45 seconds.
We will give you a few more seconds. I said that already.
45 seconds.
Okay, I'm timing right now, Mr. Nadler. Go.
All right.
My time. The answer to my question, how many of Epstein's co-conspirators has she indicted, is 0. You have been the Attorney General for a whole year, and your DOJ fired the lead prosecutor of this case, sat on evidence this entire time, and claimed falsely last July that there were no more leads. It took an act of Congress for you to finally release part of the Epstein files, and when you did, you included personal information about the victims while protecting the names of abusers.
Time of the gentleman has expired.
Brought to justice, but enormous resources
Time of the gentleman has expired, and obviously
it's clear that under your leadership, the Department of Justice no longer works
question in there.
It works for Donald Trump.
Now I want to talk about Jeffrey Epstein, not the federal case. Not what happened in 2008, for Pam Bondi was in office. I want to talk about what happened during the 8 years that Pam Bondi served as Florida Attorney General from 2011 to 2019. Jeffrey Epstein was convicted in 2008 and released from his work release arrangement in 2009. He returned to his lavish lifestyle. He continued operating out of his Palm Beach estate. And according to Trump's own Department of Justice, in a 2020 report written during Trump's first term, Epstein continued to abuse minors after his release. The Miami Herald identified 80 people who had been Epstein victims, girls mostly between 13 and 16 years old.
Late last year, the Miami Herald published an investigative series called Perversion of Justice. The Miami Herald.
We were underage. We were little girls. That's when he said, okay, you can go ahead and take off your shirt and pants, but you can stay in your underwear.
By the time I was 16, I brought him up to 75 girls, all the ages of, 14, 15, 16.
He wanted new, fresh, young faces every single day. He's probably the most prolific pedophile.
Federal prosecutors gave Jeffrey Epstein.
He's already proven he has enough power to shut even the government down.
People that know people.
This is probably the most unjust outcome of any case that I've been involved in 40 years.
I assert my federal constitutional rights as guaranteed by the 5th, 6th, and 14th Amendments of the United States Constitution.
He needs to be behind bars. He needs to be behind bars for the rest of his life. There is way too many girls for him not to be. That's just mind-blowing. We should be having our day in court with Epstein.
Do you want to make some extra money for the holidays? I said, yeah, of course. I've got 7 brothers and sisters. She said, okay, well, you can make some really good money. You have to just massage old guys. But if you tell anybody, I will beat your ass.
The record was building. Investigative reporter Julie K. Brown, who broke the Epstein story wide open at the Miami Herald.
And, it's really kind of creepy at times because Epstein had a certain kind of type. He liked very petite, blonde hair, blue-eyed. I mean, they looked very similar. So I would just basically look at their friends who all look, that look like that.
Asked publicly why Bondi never launched a state-level probe. She pointed out that Bondi had the power as Florida AG to investigate. She had the jurisdiction. She had the evidence trail. She never touched him. Not once. Not a subpoena. Not an investigation. Not a press conference. She was the top law enforcement officer in the state where Jeffrey Epstein operated for 8 years. And she ran ads about fighting to put human trafficking monsters behind bars. The monster was in her state for 8 years, and she did nothing.
And I'll fight to put human trafficking monsters where they belong, behind bars.
Fast forward to February 11, 2026. Pam Bondi is now the Attorney General of the United States. She is testifying before the House Judiciary Committee. Sitting in that hearing room are survivors and families of survivors of Jeffrey Epstein's trafficking ring. Many of them in white outfits with redacted words blacked out across the front to represent what was done to their information when the Epstein files were released. Their shirts read, "The truth is Epstein survivors are still waiting." Let us listen to what Jayapal asks Bondi and what she has to say.
To the survivors in the room, if you are willing, please stand. And if you are willing, please raise your hands if you have still not been able to meet with this Department of Justice. Please know for the record that every single survivor has raised their hand. Attorney General Bondi, you apologized to the survivors in your opening statement for what they went through at the hands of Jeffrey Epstein. Will you turn to them now and apologize for what your Department of Justice has put them through with the absolutely unacceptable release of the Epstein files and their information?
Congresswoman, you sat before Merrick Garland sat in this chair twice.
Attorney General Bondi,
No, can I finish my answer?
No, I'm going to reclaim my time because I asked you a
General,
specific question
Attorney General
that I would like
question.
you to answer, which is, will you turn to the survivors? This is not about anybody that came before you. It is about you taking responsibility for your Department of Justice and the harm that it has done to the survivors who are standing right behind you and are waiting for you to turn to them and apologize for what your Department of Justice has done.
Members get to ask the questions, the witness gets to answer in the way they want to answer. The Attorney General can
That's
respond.
not accurate, Mr. Chairman.
Because she doesn't like the answer. So,
Mr. Chairman,
why
I have asked
didn't she ask Merrick Garland this?
I'm reclaiming my time, and when I reclaim my time, it is
Mr. Chairman, the gentlelady's
I'm
reclaimed her
not going
time.
to get in the gutter for her theatrics.
The time belongs to the gentlelady. The gentlelady has 17 seconds.
Thank you. You're not going to answer this question, so let me just
Chairman,
say
I'll
this.
direct it to
What
you.
a massive
No, I'm
cover-up.
answering a
Mr.
question.
Chairman, will you restore her time? The witness is
I'm not going to
interrupted.
get in the gutter with this woman.
Stop the
She's
time
doing
and
theatrics.
let me have my time.
The gentlelady from Washington controls the time. The gentlelady has 17 seconds. You can proceed with your final
Thank you.
17 seconds.
What a massive cover-up this has been and continues to be. Donald Trump made the release of the Epstein files the center of his political campaign because he thought it would benefit him. Then you got into office, Attorney General, claimed to have a client list, only to then say that there was no list. Your deputy, Todd Blanche, met alone with Elaine Maxwell and transferred her to a minimum security prison. And now you continue the cover-up, and I wish that you would turn around to the survivors who are standing right behind you and on a human level,
Chairman,
Chair now recognizes the chair.
and what you have done.
Time is.
Deflection and putting the blame elsewhere is Bondi's pattern. On behalf of the world, we apologize to every survivor in that room and those whose names were exposed. These are real people. These are their real names. Jayapal asked Bondi to turn around in her chair, face the survivors who were seated behind her, and apologize for what the DOJ had done to them. Because when the Epstein files were released, survivors' real names were exposed. Their personal information was exposed. In some cases, intimate images were released without adequate redaction. Meanwhile, the identities of powerful men remained blacked out. The survivors had been re-exposed and re-traumatized by the very department that was supposed to protect them. Bondi's handling of the issue was nothing short of a failure. Representative Jayapal asked Bondi again, turn around, face them, apologize. She was asked a second time. This time she answered by asking why Democrats had not apologized to Donald Trump for the impeachment hearings. The survivors were
so
right
ridiculous.
behind her. She did not
that
turn
they are
around.
trying to
She did not face them.
deflect.
She did not apologize. Like usual, she deflected. just like she did when the reporter caught her at the public event in Florida, just like she did when Judge Tepper said it was not enough. The pattern never changed. Only the office changed. She spent her entire career saying she would put monsters behind bars. Jeffrey Epstein trafficked children in her state for 8 years, while she was the top law enforcement officer. She never touched him. Now she controls his files. And the survivors who have been waiting for justice sat in a congressional hearing room, and she refused to turn around and look at them. That is not a woman who fights for victims. That is a woman who uses victims as a campaign prop while protecting the men who create them.
How many have you indicted?
Excuse me, I'm going to answer the question.
Answer my question.
No, I'm going to answer the question the way I want to answer the question.
No,
Your
you're going to answer
theatrics
the
are
question the
ridiculous.
way I asked it.
Chairman Jordan, I'm not going to get in the gutter with these people, but I'm going to answer the question.
How many have you indicted?
Again, the time belongs to
Reclaiming my time.
The time belongs.
I think it's very
Reclaiming
interesting.
my time.
I think it's very interesting.
You can
that
reclaim
he
your
talks
time.
about they
Reclaiming my
indicted.
time, Mr.
The
Chairman.
president said they indicted him twice.
Mr. Chairman, please
They
stop the
sure
clock.
did.
So now you know who Pam Bondi is. But there is one question we have not answered yet. If this is who she was, how did she end up behind the desk of the United States Department of Justice? The answer to that question has a dollar amount attached to it. More than one, actually. And we have every receipt. Stay tuned for part 2 of Who is Pam Bondi? The Money Trail, up next. Coming in part 2, the checks that killed the Trump investigations of allegations of sexual abuse and assault. You will see proof of the man who said out loud at a rally, "When I call, they kiss my ass," and what he meant by that.
When I want something, I get it. When I call, they kiss my ass.
2 states, Florida and Texas. 2 payments. 2 investigations that disappeared. And the $3 million Pam Bondi received the morning his company went public. Like and subscribe so you're assured to see part 2 of Who is Pam Bondi?